So you say you're looking for love. But let's be real for a second. Are you actually looking to give love, or are you mostly hoping to get it? Do you want the real thing, or just the feeling of someone picking you, making you feel special? Because honestly, there's a world of difference between genuinely loving someone and just wanting to be loved by someone. A lot of us, when we say we want love, are actually craving a pat on the back, a nod from someone else saying, "You're okay, you matter." We're looking for someone outside ourselves to fill an empty space inside, to prove a worth we're not quite sure we have. We want to be seen, admired, and desired, not always to build something amazing with another person, but often just to quiet that nagging voice of insecurity in our own heads. Erich Fromm, a really smart guy who wrote a book called The Art of Loving, nailed this. He said most of us don't really try to learn how to love, we just want to be loved. And why? Because being loved feels like a gift, like something easy that fixes everything. But actually loving someone? That's work. It takes effort, discipline, and a real commitment. Being loved can feel like a magical fix. We think, if someone loves me, then I must be important. I'm good enough to exist. And that's where the fantasy kicks in. You're not really after love itself. You're after that feeling of finally being enough. That moment when someone looks at you or touches you and you think, yes, they see I'm worth it. Because deep down, you're not so sure about that on your own. This love you're looking for isn't about sharing what you have. It's about trying to fill a hole, an emptiness inside that no one else can see, but you feel every single day. This feeling might go way back to your childhood. Maybe you felt rejected, or like you had to constantly prove yourself to be loved. So you grow up thinking you need someone to choose you to feel valuable, to be desired, just to feel like you matter. And every time someone does choose you, you feel okay for a little while. That emptiness disappears for a moment. But then it creeps back in, doesn't it? Fromm called this immature love. It's a love that comes from a desperate need to merge with someone else, because you can't quite stand being alone with yourself. It's not real desire, it's more like a dependency, an emotional addiction. And the kicker? Our world kind of encourages this. Movies, songs, social media, they all sell this dream of finding someone to complete you, to save you, to give your life meaning. But Fromm says that's a lie, a pretty story. Real love doesn't happen when someone picks you out of a crowd. It can only really start when you stop needing to be picked. If you're still with me, it's probably because some part of this feels familiar. You know something's not quite right with how you connect with people, that there's a part of you still waiting for someone else to say you're okay. This isn't about making you feel bad, it's about waking you up. Because if you keep chasing that outside approval, you'll keep confusing neediness with love, and that just keeps you stuck in a loop that hurts. Fromm also said, most people see the problem of love primarily as the issue of being loved, rather than the issue of loving, of being capable of love. Think about that for a minute. It's a big one. It means we've got it backward. We think love is something we get, not something we learn to give. Ever notice when you think about love, your questions are usually like, will someone choose me? Am I good-looking enough? Am I worth loving? These aren't bad questions, but they show we're focused on what we get. Love becomes like a prize, and we're just trying to be attractive enough to win it. Fromm really breaks this down. He says, being loved is the passive side of love. It is being the object of love. For many, being loved means being desired. And that's the trap. We mix up being desired with actual love, being noticed with being truly cared for. Desire is exciting, sure, but it can vanish in a heartbeat. If your self-worth is tied to someone else desiring you, you're basically their emotional puppet. Your confidence becomes as shaky as a leaf in the wind. One little rejection, one ignored text, and your whole world feels like it's crashing down. But Fromm goes even further. He says this whole obsession with being loved starts from how we were wired very early on. He put it bluntly, most people are eager for love, but almost no one is truly capable of loving. Why? Because actually loving someone means having your own act together emotionally. Truly loving someone means you have to step outside of your own head and see the other person, really see them, with care and intention. Not as someone to fix you or complete you, but as someone you want to share your already whole self with. And that's super rare. We're usually too busy trying to get noticed, trying to prove with every post, every compliment we fish for, that we're worth something. This mix-up between loving and needing to be loved leads to relationships that are intense at first, but then fall apart spectacularly. People come together not to build something, but to take from each other what they feel they're missing. That's not love. It's an emotional deal, a silent contract. You make me feel good about myself, and I'll do what you want. But that deal always breaks down, and you're left feeling empty all over again. So what's this emptiness we're trying to fill when we desperately want to be loved? What's this hole inside that makes us jump at any crumb of affection? Fromm calls it the neurotic need for fusion. Basically, it's a deep, often unconscious desire to merge with someone else, to escape the feeling of being separate and alone, to escape ourselves. Think about it. When you're chasing someone to love you, it's not really love you're after. It's that temporary relief from feeling separate. You want to escape yourself. You want someone to hold you so tight in every way that for a moment you just disappear. That voice in your head goes quiet, that insecurity melts away, that fear of not being enough, of being alone, just vanishes. But that's a temporary fix because no one can do that for you forever. No person can carry the burden of constantly proving your worth. No relationship can heal wounds that are yours to deal with. And as long as you believe this fantasy, that being chosen will make you whole, you'll just swing back and forth between feeling amazing and feeling crushed, between putting people on a pedestal and then getting frustrated, between thinking, this is it, and then, nope, failed again. Fromm is clear, this kind of merging, this symbiotic love, isn't real love. It's like going backward emotionally. It's built on need, not freedom. He says, in symbiotic love, two people become one, but neither remains as an individual. It is a union without integrity. And that's the trap. What you think is deep love might just be a hidden dependency. What feels like incredible passion might just be an addiction to someone making you feel important. It's like an emotional high. When they choose you, you're flying. When they pull back, you crash. This powerful need to be chosen, to be loved, often starts in childhood. It's not about what's happening now, but about how you were, or weren't, seen and loved by the people who were supposed to teach you how to love yourself. So often, when we think we're looking for love, we're unconsciously trying to heal an old hurt, trying to get that unconditional love we missed out on. But this cycle only breaks when you realize your pain isn't just about today. It's an echo from the past. To understand this, you have to look at where this need started, that wounded part of you, that inner child, still crying out for love. Fromm might not use the exact words, inner child, but his ideas point straight to it. How we love, or try to love, is shaped by our early experiences. He said, the experience of separation provokes anxiety. It is by far the most intense source of anguish in man, and it is precisely in childhood that this experience of separation manifests with the most brutality. As kids, we're totally dependent. We need to be fed, kept safe, touched, told we're okay, and most of all, to feel emotionally secure. If that didn't happen consistently, if the love we got felt like it had strings attached, or was unpredictable, or just wasn't there, it leaves a deep, invisible scar. And that scar doesn't just go away. It hides behind grown-up masks of, I'm fine, I don't need anyone. But it shows up in our impulsive relationships, our constant need for attention, and our terror of being rejected. Fromm even said that many adults are unconsciously looking for a way back to the womb in their relationships, a place of total safety and merging. But that's a step backward. not forward. He pointed out the difference. In the childish form of love, I love because I am loved. In the mature form, I am loved because I love. That childish way of loving is still in you if you're looking for someone else to love you first, so then you can feel complete. It's an emotional reflex, not a conscious choice. That wounded part of you learned that to get love, it had to please, be useful, not make trouble. And as an adult, you're still trying to earn love, to fit in, to be good enough for someone to stick around. But the real issue was never that you weren't worthy of love. It was that you learned you had to work for it, and that twisted your whole idea of affection. What you call love is often just that inner child replaying old tapes. If I'm perfect, they won't leave. If I make them happy, they'll choose me. If they need me, they'll love me. It's a painful cycle because no matter what you do, no matter how much you give or how much you try to disappear into someone else, it will never be enough to heal that child who believes love has to be earned. And as long as you ignore that part of yourself, you'll keep finding relationships that just prove that old, painful story right. But you can break free. Real healing doesn't come from outside. It's not in the next partner, the next promise, the next like on social media. Healing starts when you finally turn towards that inner child with kindness, not blame. When you stop expecting others to do for you what you need to do for yourself. And that's when you start walking the path to real emotional maturity, to real love. In the next part, we'll talk about what that actually looks like. What is mature love, according to Fromm? Why is it so hard to find? And how can you start building it in your own life, even if you've spent years trying to get it from the outside? Truly loving someone is one of the toughest, most rewarding things we can do. It's no accident that so many of us struggle with it. Because loving isn't just falling in love. It's not just about butterflies or intense desire. It's not about getting attached. Loving, as Erich Fromm saw it, is an act of bravery. It's a conscious choice, a daily practice of emotional discipline. And that's why it's so uncommon, because it means you have to be a whole person before you can truly connect with someone else in that way. Fromm didn't pull any punches. He said, "Love is an activity, not a passive affection. It is a continuous standing up, not a sudden falling." Basically, to love is above all to give and not to receive. That idea really shakes things up because it goes against so much of what we're told, that love just happens to us, like magic, an accident. But Fromm says, no, loving is something you do. It's an action, a skill, a constant commitment. It's a choice you make every single day, even when the initial passion fades, even when the other person messes up, even when life gets hard. And here's the part that shows why so many of us aren't ready for it. You can't give what you haven't first built within yourself. Fromm believed, the problem of human existence is that of separation. Love is the answer to this problem, but only those who have overcome the separation within themselves can truly love. In simpler terms, as long as you're feeling broken or incomplete inside, you'll just use other people like emotional band-aids. You'll mix up being present with someone with them saving you. You'll think just being with someone is enough. But real love means being with someone even when it would be easier to run away. And you can only do that if you've already faced your biggest challenge, your relationship with yourself. Loving takes presence, and presence takes maturity. Most relationships don't end because the feelings disappear. They end because the emotional foundation isn't strong. We confuse attention with love, being attached with having a real bond, and our own neediness with selfless surrender. Fromm insisted, love is an art, and like all art, it requires learning, patience, practice, and perhaps most importantly, humility. He even wrote, anyone who intends to learn the art of loving must start in the same way one starts to learn any other art, through practice, discipline, concentration, and patience. But how many of us are really willing to do that? How many are willing to stop treating love like something you can just pick up off a shelf, use, and then toss away when it's not shiny anymore? To truly love, you have to go against the grain of our instant gratification culture, against our own egos, against our fear of being vulnerable. To truly love means having the guts to be emotionally open and honest, even if there's no guarantee the other person will do the same, and still choosing to love. This is when love stops being a romantic daydream and becomes a powerful, personal revolution. It's when you stop looking for someone to save you and start becoming someone another person can build with. When you stop begging for affection and start choosing to love with your eyes open, clearly, and responsibly. When you don't love because you need to, but because you want to. But to get there, you have to see and reject one of the biggest emotional traps of our time, the childish version of love that modern culture sells us. The idea that love means being chosen, pleasing others, fitting in, and that someone else is out there to fill all your empty spaces. In the next video, we'll take a closer look at this widespread fantasy and see how it stops so many of us from experiencing real, fulfilling love. We live in a world that often treats love like a product on a shelf, something easy to get rid of, flashy at first, but ultimately pretty shallow. Think about it. Movies, social media, romantic songs. They all push this sweet but ultimately misleading idea that love is about finding that one person who completes you, who makes you happy, who magically fills all your voids with their presence, affection, and promises. But that's not really love. That's emotional dependency dressed up to look like a fairy tale. Erich Fromm saw this problem a long time ago, even before our world of apps and algorithms. He wrote, "In modern culture, most people believe that loving is simple, and that the difficult part is finding the right object to love or to be loved by. This comes from a very surface-level idea that loving just comes naturally to anyone. And that's the big trap. Most of us don't actually want to learn how to love. We just want to be loved, easily and without much effort. We want those intense, movie-like romances without having to do the hard work of looking at ourselves. We want to be desired, but we don't often ask ourselves why we need that desire so badly. We want the other person to be like a mirror, reflecting back a perfect image of ourselves, instead of truly connecting with them as another real, imperfect human being. This childish idea of love starts right there, when we turn the relationship into a fantasy where the other person is supposed to save us from ourselves. Fromm called this out as a major flaw in our society. We're not really taught how to love. Instead, we're conditioned to chase things like status, beauty, approval, and pleasure, and we project all those desires onto other people. We're looking for someone to prove we're special, to rescue us from loneliness, doubt, and insecurity. But that's not love. That's like searching for an emotional parent figure, someone to take on the responsibilities that are really our own. He also pointed out that in this immature kind of love, the other person becomes just an object for our emotional consumption, something that has to work to make us feel good. And here's the really tough part. You might not be relating to an actual person, but to the idea of how that person makes you feel. This is why so many of us don't truly love. We just cling. And it's why so many relationships crash and burn as soon as the initial fantasy wears off. Our culture trains us to want quick thrills, not deep connections, intensity, not real intimacy, to use others, not to build something lasting together. And what happens? We end up with fragile, anxious relationships, super sensitive to any hint of frustration. We fall in love fast, but then it all falls apart even faster. These are loves built on expectations, not reality, on neediness, not on a genuine choice. And this whole cycle is fed by a system that actually benefits from our unhappiness, by constantly selling us the idea that the next person will be better, that if you haven't found the one yet, you just haven't tried hard enough to be more desirable, more interesting, more perfect. But real love doesn't show up in a fancy package. It doesn't come from some kind of emotional marketing. It can only truly grow when two people come together without needing to complete each other, but with a genuine desire to share who they already are. And this takes a kind of self-awareness that goes against almost everything we've been taught about love. In the very last part of this, we'll talk about that crucial turning point. The moment you stop looking for love to fill you up and start loving as an act of freedom. A love that comes from having plenty to give, not from a place of lack. A love that doesn't need to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself completely. Let's get there. Here's the bottom line. True love starts exactly where neediness stops. It doesn't come from feeling empty, desperate, or afraid of being alone. It's born from a place of inner strength, from your ability to be a whole person standing next to another whole person, without trying to become them, without losing yourself, and without begging them to make you feel okay. When you still need someone else to choose you just to feel valuable, you're not really loving. You're just trying to survive by using the other person to prop you up. You're trying to prove to yourself over and over that you're good enough to be seen. But real love isn't about any of that. It's not a cry for help. It's not neediness pretending to be passion. Authentic love is a choice. It's the natural overflow from someone who has already found themselves, who already sees themselves as complete, who has faced their own inner emptiness and decided they're not going to use it as an excuse to depend on anyone else emotionally. You've spent so much time looking for someone to make you feel special. But what if you stopped that today? What if you decided right now that your worth isn't going to be decided by what other people think of you? Because that, right there, is where real freedom begins. The love that comes after that decision doesn't tie you down, doesn't make demands, doesn't suffocate. It shares, it adds to your life, it helps you build. It doesn't try to fill what's missing in you, it overflows from you. Now, I really want to hear from you. If this message has struck a chord, if it feels true for you, leave a comment below saying, "I do not need to be chosen to feel whole." Write that down as a promise to yourself, because when you truly declare that, you start taking back control of your own story. And if this has touched you, don't stop here. The next video is a crucial part of this journey. Watch it. It might show you something you haven't quite had the courage to face yet.